Hello, guys, and today we have a couple of interesting things that have been currently happening. So, Bitcoin is basically acting like the world's 24/7 punching bag right now, and honestly, that might be about to change. I was going through a few updates today, and when I connected them together, it paints a pretty interesting picture where crypto is currently heading. So first, this idea that Bitcoin always dumps on the weekends. It's literally because Bitcoin is the only major liquid asset that trades 24/7. Stocks close, traditional markets pause, but Bitcoin, it just keeps going. So it ends up absorbing all the pressure. Basically, when anything happens off hours, Bitcoin takes the hit. But here's where it gets interesting. And now here we have a tweet by James Van Straten, where he does go on to say, once stocks and traditional assets start trading 24/7 or get tokenized, this completely changes. Because suddenly you're not forced to dump Bitcoin anymore. You can rotate, hedge, move into other assets in real time. And that means markets might actually start behaving. That is normally, of course. And if that happens, Bitcoin might stop being the default exit button for everything. Now, at the same time, something else is happening, and it's not great for altcoins. Altcoin trading volume has absolutely collapsed. We're talking from like 40 to 90 billion ranges earlier this year, down to a fraction of that. Interest is fading fast, and this is where people usually get it wrong. Those huge spikes in volume earlier this year, that's when everyone was kind of excited, FOMO is kicking in, and historically, that's when the smarter investors are selling into that hype. But right now, it's quiet, low interest and low volume. And weirdly, that's usually when the better options start to form. So with that, we might see a change in the upcoming weeks or even months. And there's one more piece to all of these things. So we have the US is now moving closer to actually regulating crypto properly. There's a talk of a deal around There's a talk of a deal around stable coins, part of a bigger market structure bill, and things like limiting passive yield, but allowing activity-based rewards. And whether people like regulation or not, this is a signal. So now overall, we have Bitcoin acting as the only 24/7 liquid outlet, altcoins losing attention, and the government starting to step in with the structure. So you might think this is random, but it's definitely not random. It's kind of like a way for the market that is in a way maturing, and and the crazy part is most people are waiting for things to feel exciting again before they pay attention. But by the time it feels exciting, that's usually when the move has already happened. So yeah, right now might feel slow, boring, even dead, but historically, these are the moments that matter the most. As I said before in the other videos, bigger players, they obviously know the insider information. They know how it really is and when the perfect time is. So right now could be, that perfect time. And like I just said, when things start feeling, exciting and back on track a bit, that's kind of when it's too late. So I'm curious what you guys think. So are altcoins done for now, or is this just a calm before the next wave? But now let's zoom in a bit because today's price action actually gave some pretty interesting signals, and this is where things start to get a little unusual. So today didn't open like a normal session did. So we actually saw a correlation breakdown at the highs, and that's important. And Ethereum started moving down towards a previous day's low, but Bitcoin didn't follow. That creates a divergence, and when you start seeing assets that usually move together not moving together, that's when the structure is getting more complex. So now during that move, an hourly fair value gap has formed. But here's the key part. Even inside that gap, Bitcoin and Ethereum still aren't fully synced. So when you combine a divergence with a gap like that, it usually doesn't resolve quietly. So as it stands right now, the higher probability setup is still leaning bearish if we do come back down to that fair value gap. These types of gaps tend to act like a magnet for the price. So if this one holds, we're likely to look at a continuation to the downside with a potential move down towards 67,300 on Bitcoin. But there still could be a chance that the price does continue to go bullish and continue with an uptrend, as we have now had a big move in the market, a big bullish move. So we could either expect a continuation or a reversal back down to that fair value gap. And if that gap gets fully closed on both Bitcoin and Ethereum, that would actually validate the divergence we saw at the lows. And at that point, the buyer shifts. We'd be looking at a higher move of around 72,000 for Bitcoin and roughly 2,200 for Ethereum. But until that happens, the downside has the stronger structure behind it. So as of right now, the price does seem to be coming back for a reversal. So yeah, between the bigger market shift, altcoins fading, regulation coming in, and now this kind of new price structure, things are definitely not as simple as they look right now. And usually when it feels complicated like this, that's when the next big move is getting ready. So thank you guys for watching. Drop a like and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one.